In 1948, two brothers from the small town of Herzogenaurach, Germany, found themselves in a bitter rivalry that would shape the future of sportswear. One would go on to create Adidas, while the other built Puma, two iconic brands that would dominate the global market for decades. But what if I told you their feud wasn't just about shoes? What if it was something deeper, something personal? But before we dig deeper into this twisted story of sibling rivalry, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments which other famous feuds you'd like us to uncover next. Trust me, this one's going to surprise you. How it all started. Let's rewind the clock to the 1920s in the quiet town of Herzogenaurach, Germany. This is where Adolf Adi Dassler and his older brother Rudolf Rudi Dassler were born. Their father was a simple worker in a shoe factory, so you could say shoemaking was in their blood. After World War I, Adi began making sports shoes in his mother's laundry room. But this wasn't your typical hobby. Adi was obsessed with perfecting his designs. He believed that athletes deserved shoes that were built not just for walking, but for winning. Rudi, on the other hand, had a different skill set. He wasn't much into the technical side of things, but boy could he sell. Rudi had the kind of charisma that made him a natural-born salesman. Together, they seemed unstoppable. By 1924, the Dassler brothers officially launched their company, Gebruder Dassler Schuhfabrik, which translates to Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory. This was the birth of what could have been a lifelong partnership. In 1936, they got their big break when they convinced American sprinter Jesse Owens to wear their shoes during the Berlin Olympics. Not only did Owens win 4 gold medals, but the Dassler shoes were now on the world stage. Business was booming and everything seemed perfect. But, as with all great partnerships, there were cracks forming beneath the surface. Cracks in the foundation. Now let's dive into what tore this dynamic duo apart. There are lots of theories, and like any great feud, the truth is a mix of facts, rumors, and a whole lot of guesswork. Adi was a perfectionist, focused on the craftsmanship of the shoes, while Rudi was the extroverted, charming face of the company. The brothers couldn't be more different, and those differences slowly turned into resentment. Some say the tension boiled over during World War II. As the war loomed over Germany, both brothers had to balance their business with their involvement in the Nazi Party. While it's not fully confirmed, it's widely believed that Rudi was a more zealous supporter, while Adi focused on keeping the business afloat. Rumors swirled that Rudi felt Adi was trying to push him out during the war, possibly even reporting him to the Gestapo, which led to Rudi's brief imprisonment. Family dinners must have been awkward after that, but the nail in the coffin. There's a famous story that during an Allied bombing raid, Adi made a comment that Rudi overheard. As they rushed to shelter, Adi supposedly muttered something like, "Here come those bastards again," referring to the bombers. But Rudi, ever suspicious, thought Adi was talking about him and his family. Was this the final straw? Maybe, but things were never the same after that. The Great Split. By the end of World War II, the brothers were done with each other. In 1948, they officially split the company. Adi stayed at the original factory and created Adidas, an abbreviation of his name, Adolf Dassler. Rudi went across town and founded Ruda, which he later rebranded as Puma. The town of Herzogenaurach was divided literally. Workers had to choose between the two companies, and families often found themselves on opposite sides. In fact, the town became so obsessed with the rivalry that people were said to check each other's shoes before deciding if they'd talk to you. It was like a 1940s version of Team Edward versus Team Jacob, only with shoes instead of vampires. To say the brothers' feud was bitter is an understatement. Adi and Rudi never reconciled. Even when they were buried, they chose the same cemetery in Herzogenaurach but requested to be laid as far apart as possible. Talk about taking a grudge to the grave, literally. The split sparked an intense rivalry, not just between two companies but two brothers who would stop at nothing to outdo each other. From the 1950s onward, Adidas and Puma dominated the sports shoe market, but each had a different approach. Adidas quickly became the go-to brand for professional athletes, with Adi's innovative designs leading the way. He was obsessed with improving performance, and it paid off. Adidas was the first to introduce screw-in studs for soccer boots, which revolutionized the sport. As for Rudi, Puma took a more aggressive marketing approach, focusing on big endorsements and securing high-profile athletes like Pelé. Speaking of Pelé, here's where the rivalry takes a twist. In the 1970 World Cup, Puma orchestrated what is now known as the Pele Pact. Rudy reportedly paid Pele to bend down and tie his Puma shoes right before the match, ensuring that millions of viewers worldwide would see the iconic logo. Adidas? Furious. It was one of the boldest marketing moves in sports history and gave Puma a massive win on the world stage. And who really won? By now you're probably wondering who won this epic sibling battle. On the surface, it seems like Adidas came out on top. Today, Adidas is a multi-billion-dollar empire with sponsorships from global stars like Lionel Messi, Kanye West, and Beyoncé. Puma, while still successful, is seen as the underdog. But here's the kicker. Both brands have had their share of victories. Adidas has dominated the performance side of sportswear, while Puma leaned more into lifestyle and fashion, particularly under the leadership of Rudy's son, Armin Dassler. And in the world of endorsements, Puma has pulled off some iconic wins too. From Pele to Usain Bolt, Puma has secured some of the biggest names in sports history. But here's the plot twist. In 2009, both companies decided to call a truce. They organized a friendly soccer match between Adidas and Puma employees to symbolize the end of their decades-long rivalry. Or at least that's what they said. Whether the rivalry is truly over or just dormant is anyone's guess. Despite the bitter rivalry, the legacy of the Dassler brothers is undeniable. Together, they transformed the sportswear industry, and their innovations shaped the way athletes compete today. Adidas pushed the boundaries of sports technology, while Puma focused on blending style with performance. And let's not forget, their feud has become one of the most legendary rivalries in business history. It's also worth mentioning that both companies are now run by people who had nothing to do with the original feud. Adidas and Puma have become corporate giants that transcend the personal drama of the Dassler brothers. But if you look closely, you can still see traces of that old rivalry in the way they compete for market share and endorsements. So, what's the moral of the story? Maybe it's that sibling rivalries can create greatness. Or maybe it's that grudges can last a lifetime. But here's a thought to leave you with. What if the Dassler brothers never split? Would we even have the iconic Adidas and Puma brands today? Or would their collaboration have stifled the innovation that made them both giants in their own right? Something to think about the next time you lace up your shoes.